Today, Orane Swan is an author, a property investor and a property developer. Once upon a time, she was a single mum and a little girl who came to Australia and could not even speak English. Orane has overcome many obstacles in her journey from single mum to property millionaire. She's here tonight to tell you what steps she took to overcome poverty, depression.
I was born on a small island called Mauritius, and I was the seventh of 8 children. Our family were quite poor. I suffered from learning impediments, so when I went to school, I couldn't pass my exams. Now, I am very visual. In those days, this is years, I'm talking a long time ago, people weren't aware of whether you were visual or not. So because I couldn't pass my exams, my teacher would force me to kneel outside, and they were very barbaric in those days, to kneel outside with a big sign on my back. That caused a lot of issues in my life. So from that time onwards, I remember going to school, never having any friends. So I grew up from a very early age feeling very sad, very unhappy, unable to really communicate with people. So I believe that they say that give me the child from 1 to 7, I'll give you the man or woman. Mm-hmm. I feel that that's really impeded my performance in my life. I grew up with really low self-esteem and confidence in myself. Also, coming from Mauritius, I was always fearful. I was fearful of sleeping on my own. I was fearful of going out. I was fearful of speaking, because I was afraid to speak. We moved to Australia when I was 10 years old, and I thought that would be a great start for me. But when I started school in Australia, I suffered from bullying, because at the time I spoke French, not English. And in those days, it's not like it is now. They didn't like new Australians. So I was bashed, and it was just really awful. So I could say that the first 10 years of my life, 12 to 13 years, was quite horrific for me, which caused a lot of issues in my life down the track. At the age of 21, to run away from my family, I thought that I would get married at 21. But you've got to understand that 2 half people cannot get together and have a perfect relationship. And that's what happened between my husband and I. He was very emotionally unavailable, and we didn't really click in a lot of ways. So I decided to have children, thinking that the children was going to fill me up. So I had 3 sons from my first marriage. When the children were about 12, 10 and 9-month-old, my husband decided to walk out on me. That was my first episode of depression. After he left me, I started getting really depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I had anxiety attacks. I just didn't get out of my dressing gown. My father used to turn up at my door and say, "Get out of that dressing gown." And I just did not want to get out of my dressing gown.
So literally couldn't shower, couldn't get up?
I didn't,
you're still feeding the kids at this stage, though?
Well, I had 3 kids, and the baby was 9-month-old. So basically that was my first episode of experiencing depression in my life. After my husband left me, probably about 2 years after that, I entered another relationship, because at the time I was 35 years old, and I thought, oh my God, I'm 35, I've got 3 kids, who's going to want me? I fell pregnant with my daughter, and when I was pregnant, I went to him and said, "Look, I'm pregnant." And he said, "I don't want you to have this child, I'd like you to have an abortion." So I said, "No way, I'm not having an abortion. I'm keeping this child, and I'm going to do it on my own." So I had 3 boys and a little girl.
I want to find out how you managed to bring up 4 kids and have the property as well.
I was 35 years old. What happened when I divorced, I was left with a block of land at Tenamera, which is in Logan, and $10,000. And I decided to build a home, because my motivation was geared by fear. I had a fear of who was going to look after me when I'm old, because I grew up in Mauritius and I saw these poor people all over the place. So it was that fear that actually drove me. So what I did with a block of land, owner built a home, and my first home, and I actually did it myself. I paid a builder to do it, and that was the beginning of my confidence in the fact that this was the first time I did something that I actually felt confident about. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I used the other $10,000 to buy another property in Moorooka. It was on 1,000 square metres, and I subdivided the block. Now, don't ask me how I did it, but it was just like, I'm one of these people, if I really want to do something, I do it. So I subdivided that. So by the time I was about 35, I had 3 properties. Because I suffered from depression during that time as well, I used to use property as my escape. And it was my escape and my redemption. So, and property's always been my passion. I love property. It's like I do what I love and love what I do. Mm-hmm. And when you do that in your life, you'll be successful. I did have a job, and I decided I didn't want to be shackled to a 9-to-5 job. And so one day I woke up and said, right, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I went on the single mother's pension because I had 4 kids. I couldn't cope. Mm-hmm. So I was on the single mother's pension for a while. But what I did to create money, I used to go to the auction and buy things. Like there was a time that I bought 6 mattresses, brought it home, and I sold one at a time, and that's how I made the extra money. Mm-hmm. So just because you don't have a 9-to-5 job does not mean that you can't be successful and make money. You need to be entrepreneurial. And that's something I think that I've inherited from my dad, because he had 8 kids, so you had to have a few jobs to keep us, alive.
How did you know I'm going to become a multi-millionaire?
All I wanted was $1 million. That's all I wanted. I knew I wanted that when I was 10 years old in Mauritius, seeing these poor people, and I said, one day I'm going to be rich. And that has been my dominant thought for many, many years. So by the time I was 15, I had 3 jobs. I was working in a Devondale factory. I was putting potatoes in bags. So I was really working. Mm-hmm. Now, I worked harder and not smarter. Now I know how to work smarter and not harder. But in those days, I was never out with friends because I didn't have any friends. And I didn't want friends because I wanted to make money. Mm-hmm. So by the time I was 21, I had my own car, I had my colour TV. This is years ago. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I felt good about myself. Between 1995 to 2001, I stopped investing in property. I started investing in myself. So what I'm saying to guys out there, if you want to make money, start investing in you. Jim Rohn used to say, I used to listen to it every day, if you work on yourself, you make a fortune. If you work on your job, you make a living. And that was my mantra. I had it up there. And I started working on myself. So I started reading books and doing all sorts of things. I also believe in multiple streams of income. So as I got older and I got smarter, I became more confident. I'm a real estate licensee. I'm a finance broker. And so I started doing all sorts of things. I wanted to know everything about property. Mm-hmm. So I went out there and I became a finance broker because I wanted to be on the other side, knowing how to get loans. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do real estate because I wanted to be, to sell real estate. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to real estate, I know everything because I've been a renovator, a developer, I've strata titled, I just get a block of land. I'm visionary, so I see the block of land and I see 52 units on it, and that's basically what I'm doing at the moment. When we grew up, there was no such thing as mentors and coaches and all these things. I really believe personally that being an entrepreneur is actually, I feel, this is my opinion, you're actually born an entrepreneur. And I feel that from a very early age, I just knew things. And my father was a little bit like that because in Mauritius, he used to build a house and then move on and move on. So I've sort of learnt that. Some
of your skills you've got from your upbringing, and you've also got some of your skills from learning from other people who have done these things and mentored.
I do everything myself. I did learn something when I moved to Sydney back in You want to know when I started making money? What happened? I was a single mother. I started becoming a finance broker. I went to Sydney for a ball. I met someone and he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a finance broker. So he said, come for an interview. The next day I went for the interview. I got the job. I bluffed myself into this job. It was general manager of a company in Sydney. I moved there. I was given a BMW convertible. I hung around the right people. And I think what that did for me, it actually changed my mindset. I started hanging around wealthy people and thinking, right, I want to be wealthy, because I was living in Rose Bay. So basically that changed my life. And also I had met a developer who was changing a bread factory into beautiful units in Paddington, of which I purchased one of them. And so what I decided to do, and that was in 2001, I could smell the market was going to turn in Brisbane. I'm very intuitive, and I know it was going to turn. So I then decided to start buying property in Brisbane. I must say that I started making a lot of money, six-figure income, when I moved to Sydney. It's just knowing the right people.
While you were working as a finance broker.
That's right. My life just went from being on the pension, getting a little job, being a finance broker, to having huge amount of money, being in a situation where I had all rich and wealthy people around me. So that was the breakthrough for me. I came back to Sydney. I went home to my kids and said, right, I've been looking after you for the last 20 or so years. It's about me now, I said. And some people thought, oh my God, what is she doing? But they were older. And I decided to spend all my time on me, planning how I was going to become a millionaire. And what happened between 2001, I was in the Property Investor magazine in 2004. Between 2001 and 2004, I'd made $2.2 million worth of net asset.
Fantastic.
Which, it's good. I believe that most of the millionaires that I know really believe in themselves, and they make what they want their dominant thought. And that was the secret of my success.
Now, you called the book From Wounds to Wisdom. Do you think people have to go through a nasty experience before they get the wisdom, or can they simply choose to rush out and find a mentor?
Well, I think everybody goes through some sort of wounds, whether it's depression or whether it's divorce. The reason I've called it Wounds to Wisdom is because that's just my story, and just to tell people that doesn't matter where you've been in your life, you can change it. I did.
Now, you mentioned you went through depression after the divorce. You've now become the ambassador for Beyond Blue, who's the government's anti-depression initiative. How has that changed your life and your profile?
I've always wanted to help people with depression because as a single mother, I went through hell, and my children suffered emotionally, terribly. And the thing is that I would like to make a difference in people's lives and show them how they too can change their lives, because it's not that hard.
So what other things have changed in your mindset as you go from each transition?
Well, in the past, I didn't have any confidence. Now I have confidence, and that's the difference. And what I've done is created the 7 steps towards taking you from where you are to where you want to go. So it's about confidence, it's about clarity. Once you get clarity, you can make the right choices. It's about becoming creative, because creativity makes money. It's about communication, how to communicate with like with me, brokers and lawyers and that sort of thing. And it's also about creating cash flow. There's so many ways these days to create cash flow, and I'd like to be able to, teach people how to do that.
Okay, so the 7 C's to a 6-figure income, I believe.
It's 7 C's to the 6-figure income, 7 C's to getting out of depression, 7 C's to getting from where you are to where you want to be. So it's really, I've been working on this for 10 years, mind you. I nearly started this 10 years ago, but now I feel I'm in the right place at the right time, and I'm the right person as well.
You've also had, you don't just go from rags to riches straight away. You also had a bit of a tragedy in 2011, the Brisbane floods.
Oh, yes, yes. 2011, I went through the floods. I actually went back 2 months before to start my business called Keeping on Track. And 2 months later, my building was totally underwater. So I lost a lot of money. Actually, during that time, I lost 3 properties in the flood. So basically, but the thing is, even though I went through that, it didn't bother me, because I'm stronger. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger, and bring it on. I'm ready for whatever happens. I've been through so much that it doesn't matter anymore. I can deal with anything. Since the GFC, it was really bad, so I got depressed again, because I really, it was really bad. But the thing is, I kept my whole portfolio, and I became very frugal and did the right thing, because I really know how to handle money. You have to have 4 children, go through everything I have and still keep everything. you have to know money, which I do.
And you lose $1 million and go, look at how much I've got left.
Well, I don't really think about it. Do you know why? Because I create cash flow with my properties. I don't go for capital gains. I'm handing my properties over to my children to change the next generation. So it doesn't matter for me whether it's positively, well, it has to be positively geared, but I don't care about capital gains because the market goes up and down, and I know the market so well. I'm quite happy with what I have. I'm financially independent. Now I can make a difference in the lives of women, which is my passion for people.
So you recommend people just invest for cash flow, ignore the ups and downs in the market? And the
Yes,
promises?
absolutely, absolutely. It's just that I used to invest for capital gains, but when I changed my tactic, which happened 5 years ago, my rental income from, say, 10 years ago has gone up 4 times that it used to be. It's huge now. So I'm quite happy with what I've achieved. I'm a woman, 4 kids. I'm proud of myself. And that's the mindset. I'm proud.
And the website is keepingontrack.com.au.
Correct.
And the book, From Wounds to Wisdom, if you want to rush out and find out how Orane changed her mindset and also learned all the strategies.